Good night, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of Lewwe Chat. We are back after a very long 6 months. We're sorry you had to wait so long. It's literally been 6 months. Like I checked the last uploaded video, it's been 6 months. So you want to welcome you guys back. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends and family. And tonight, our topic is lockdown. I think there's something that we're all familiar with, yeah. But before we get into the discussion, let me just introduce my co-hosts, Jodine, Janielle, and Trey. How are you guys doing tonight? I think you're all on mute. How are
Hi
you doing?
everyone. I am good. Grateful to be alive and well.
True.
Yeah, I'm good. Shafat is reopened, business is thriving, agents know who to support, so my heart is content.
Your heart is content.
Okay.
As long as your heart is open.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Good. Right, yeah. So tonight, actually, before we dive into discussion, we want to introduce a new segment called Unpopular Opinions. I'm going to lead the first unpopular opinion. And that unpopular opinion is no, first of all, please don't throw any big rocks at me. It's just an opinion. It's not a fact, although it might be a fact in my own mind. But I believe that Shafat rotis are underrated. Greatly.
Oh,
Oh,
Greatly.
agreed.
Y'all agree with me?
Yeah.
That is not an unpopular opinion, Greg.
Right?
I mean,
It is not.
No, everybody knows
No.
this.
An unpopular
I mean-
opinion would be that chef roti is too big.
I don't know if to interpret this as disrespect or not. So, like, guide me. Guide me.
Yes, good night, everyone. Yeah, good night, Sierra. Good night, Jameson. Well, I already thought that was unpopular. Okay,
No.
well, I guess I feel like that.
Right.
But yeah,
Funny enough, I was actually telling my mom from the first time I went over there when I was a little child, that road tastes the same and it always lash, which means it's good. Like it's
Oh.
real good.
oh, okay. Okay. Well, we're on the same page. Good night, Mario. How you all doing tonight? Yeah. So
Mario.
basically, we're going to be talking about the lockdown, and COVID and how it's all impacted us through the last year. It's literally been a year. Like last year, March. This time, I believe, like in this week last year, we didn't even have our first case yet, or it was coming like closer into the Caribbean. And
Just about.
we were kind of anticipating that it would be here. And then I think the following week, we had our first 2 cases or so, and it was just pandemonium. People were just so confused what's gonna happen. The country gonna shut down. They can't get too close to anybody. It was crazy. And that was literally a year ago, and
Yeah.
it feels like 5 years, but it's literally just been a year ago. Yeah. So we're going to be discussing a lot of the impacts that the lockdown and COVID had on us, mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? And not just the negative impacts, but positive as well. Because I believe, and I know for me, for sure, I've grown in some areas, right? Through this entire year is I've been able to grow, and that's something that I was hoping to come up of the year being a lockdown and such, right? Had my downs as well, and as I'm sure a lot of people did, and we're gonna get into that. But yeah, so for you guys, Trey, how did the COVID year affect you personally? And you guys in the comments can let me know, let us know how the lockdown has affected you this last year, the COVID and everything. Wherever you are, you can let us know.
I want to say it was rough, but there were good elements to it. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but like one of the roughest aspects was like I literally went 4 or 5 months without a haircut. I'm not shooting being very serious.
Before what?
A haircut. Like the people that know me know how seriously I take
I feel you,
myself.
I feel you.
But that aside though, it actually had a lot of ups. It was a period of personal growth for me. I had known for a while that my mental health wasn't the best, and lockdown put me in a position where I was like, okay, you know what, Trey, you can't keep sweeping this under the rug anymore. Right? You're a mental health advocate, but you have to advocate for your own mental health as well. So I actually started therapy during lockdown. Next month is actually going to be a year since I've been doing therapy. I tapped in, yeah, thanks. And I actually talked to him a lot more in terms of my mental health advocacy. So I started putting myself out there a lot more, started learning a lot more about mental health and doing my best to help people. And yeah, it turned out pretty well. I won a scholarship, so I think it turned out pretty well. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, actually, you became listen. Trey was all over the news here. Trey was a Rhodes Scholar. Trey got the Rhodes Scholarship. And everywhere I turn, I see
Yes.
Trey on CBC, Nation, Barbados, everything. I mean, congrats, bro. You've been chasing it for a while, right? So
No,
all the best.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So Jodine, how has this year been to you?
Well, for me, I had both, negative and positive. Um, Positive, I began taking care of myself more, so that's one great thing. But negatively, I've become a little bit lackadaisical as it relates to church, unfortunately.
Mm,
So that really boxing me on my face. But yeah, we're working on it. It's getting better though. So, yeah.
It's a work in progress.
that's good. Work in progress. How about you, Janielle? How has this year affected you?
I'm going to start with the positives. For one, I've been saving a lot of money because I don't go anywhere. All I see is my lovely companion and
I see.
and my students when I go online because I can work from home, so I really have no reason to be leaving
Mhm.
my house that sort of way. So I saved a
Mm,
lot of money. I discovered some new skills. I taught myself um, how to paint and drawing, some of that, and I've been fiddling around with some digital art and stuff like that. So that was great. Negative, I feel like I'm probably losing my social skills because, yeah, like some people be messaging me and I'm just like, people bad, please. Like,
Yeah.
so there's that, and there's also the fact that work never ends. There's a lot of criticism for teachers in this time, teaching online,
mm,
but people don't get how difficult it is. The fact that there are hours and hours of planning that go into making sure that the children are engaged and that they actually learn on this platform. So that's also been negative, having to deal with all of the backlash and unnecessary hate that we get. But the students love us, so
that's good. That's great. That's great. I
That's
have a comment here. Good night, Sharon, by the way. Thank you for joining. I have a comment from Rolene. Good night, Rolene. Thank you for joining as well. She said it was a year for much personal growth for me. I began to focus more on self growth and saw a complete shift in the different areas of my life. That's great.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
Love to see
Um,
it.
but yeah, for me, I would say let me start with the negatives. Um, the funny thing is I grew up kind of introverted, but I kind of like almost forced myself to be extroverted to some extent. So I really like to be around people, but I also love to be alone. Um, so for me, as Jadine and Janelle said, social skills just went down, and it just began to become a little stressful for me, like just being home all the time, and you can't go nowhere, you can't see nobody. Got to the point where I was just like, I'm tired of working from home. I'm going into the office today. If the only person I see is the girl, I can talk to the girl. Yeah. So yeah, it's been rough. I had a side business, so obviously that was crumpled since they couldn't been doing because it's like around entertainment. So I couldn't have been doing that, so that was a loss of income there. Um, but still had my my job, which is good. Yeah, that was mostly it for negatives. The positives, to be honest, everything else is a blur since I got my license. Literally, right? Literally, it was March. It was March 2nd,
Mhm.
and March 3rd is when we went into the second lockdown, right? I literally got my license before we went into lockdown. I was like, it has to happen. I am not not fit anymore. So that was a great positive for me, as well as
Yeah.
growing spiritually and developing on myself as well, my skills and whatnot. Even professionally, we've been looking at different courses in terms of digital marketing and cybersecurity and that kind of stuff. So I'll take the advantage to use the downtime that we had to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, all in all, I miss people. I really miss people. Like real talk. Yeah.
I can't say
You
the
guys,
same.
you
I'm
guys
kidding.
know
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I
how
really
this
can't say
year
the
was.
same. I don't share the same sentiment.
Oh, for real? Oh wow.
The
Oh,
thing is,
Jodine?
I
Oh
still am
wow.
not a people person. Like I still
Um,
afraid people and things, so that's why.
no. I mean, I miss my friends. I miss going to the beach. I miss going out to eat and
yeah.
stuff like that. So, yeah. I
Yeah.
miss having that freedom to say, well, Glenn will probably tell you all that I don't be out after too. But we will
Uh,
discuss that in another episode. But
yeah. And
nah,
also for me,
uh,
yeah. Also for me, like the same thing with the haircut. It was rough. I mean, and my barber, the time I could have gotten a haircut, my barber actually went overseas. I know it was just like, dude, I'm serious. Yeah. So yeah. Now Rolene is saying she bought her first car just before we went into lockdown. What a blessing. That was great. That was great. Good
Now I
stuff.
have somebody to drive me around. Twofold lesson.
Yeah. Moving on. Yeah, so we're gonna talk a little bit about lockdown fatigue, right? So I'm just gonna ask you to expand on that first.
yeah, no problem. It's pretty much in the word in itself, lockdown fatigue. It is tiring. It is exhausting. In fact, I would even argue to say it's not just lockdown fatigue. It is COVID fatigue. We're just
Mm.
tired of this entire pandemic and the world looking different. Like I swear, if I hear the phrase "new normal" one more time, I'm actually going to lose it. But no, it's
Uh,
very exhausting, and I think a lot of that has to do with the anxiety that it induces.
mm,
Because, for all intents and purposes, the pandemic is a disaster. Yeah, let me call it a disaster. And how the brain operates is that it naturally goes into like this very anxious state when it senses like any impending danger. COVID is impending danger. It been impending. It's more than impending now. It's actually here. So our brains are constantly operating at that heightened sense of fear and anxiety as a way of protecting us, ironically. But because of that, it becomes very exhausting. So the experience of always being inside, the experience of not having freedom to say, "Hey, I want to go here," or if you
mm,
do have that freedom of, "Okay, I want to go here," it's like I got to wear my mask, I got to sanitize, I got to be standing at 6 feet away from people. It's all just very overwhelming and exhausting. So yeah, lockdown fatigue is quite the appropriate term, to be honest.
yeah, it's definitely tiring, and it basically it's been tiring. It's been a tiring year. Like when people had to adjust to, as you said, the new normal.
Hmm.
Especially you have people who are very affectionate and like to be up on the people for those and adventurous people. So you have those type of personalities, and that makes it even harder for you. If you're a
Yeah.
very introverted person and just like to be by yourself and to get going, you say no problem. This is perfect. You
Hmm.
understand? But
Yeah.
not having that freedom, it just puts into perspective. It really just puts into perspective how much we might have taken for granted. But at least now,
Yeah.
when we get out of this situation, then we would appreciate what we have the freedom to do so much more, right? And hopefully that
Um,
appreciation stays. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, just to add quickly to that, I think that's another thing that contributes to the fatigue. I don't want some all doomsday here, but sometimes it does feel like you have to ask, when is this going to end? Like,
Mm.
unfortunately, it is showing no signs of slowing down. Well, hopefully, the vaccine over the long term period would put a change to that. I'm hoping and praying, but even here in Barbados, we did a very good job in terms of managing our cases. At December 31st, 2020, we thought that we were about to close out what was a very tough year. And then you just hear press conference, and then you're just hearing the God possible spike in COVID cases. It's like, so the never ending feeling does contribute to the fatigue as well.
Mm. Yeah. Janielle, Jodine, you all have anything to add?
Well, well, for me, yeah, it's just the same never-ending feeling. Like here in St. Vincent, we thought we were going so good as well. Then December came and just everything just exploded. I was like, what is going on? I actually thought, okay, yeah, we will be able to travel soon. No, it's just like, no sense. It ain't happening. So yes, just the never ending feeling is just a pain. It is a pain.
Jodine is going to make
Definitely.
me cry because that is the most tragic part for me. No traveling. Like I shortly after the pandemic began, I took my suitcase out from under my bed and I dusted it off and I was like, this is prophetic. I'm going to travel. And then I did. But like since then I've just been like looking at the suitcase and suitcase looking at me and it's like, don't even try it, girl. We ain't going nowhere.
Poor thing.
Oh boy.
It's been so sad.
Poor thing.
And I remember when we had that break in summer last year in Barbados. And we had 0 cases. Everybody was rejoicing. We had a good time all up to December 31st. Listen, it was just like pause. Literally, all the plans people had all years night just vanished.
Yeah,
Literally
boy.
just vanished. It literally just hurt my stomach. And I mean that was rough. But at
Mm-hmm.
least I was telling myself the entire year, at least we didn't have to go into lockdown during Christmas time. You
True.
know, so at least we had that time to, people had that time to be with families and whatnot. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so lockdown fatigue is basically, as the name is being tired of lockdown, and Trey said being tired of COVID on a whole, and just want to emphasize that let's not make it worse for ourselves, because even though they're adults and the government is putting out all these protocols to adults, to families is like people are literally still out there not obeying the protocols, like not wearing masks, not social distancing, not sanitizing, and it's like you're only going to make this worse for yourself and for the country on a whole, because then you're complaining about losing business, then you're not following protocols, because then if you're going to infect dozens of people and then we have to go into another lockdown, there's another surge, then everybody's going to be affected. So we all have to play our part.
Mm-hmm.
Just really just sanitize and just let's get on with life. Yeah. Um. So we have there's so many impacts that COVID has had through the last year. Um. So we're going to get into that, and we're also going to get into how it would have impacted us financially and mentally, and then more into that. Yeah. So Janielle, how has COVID impacted us through the last year?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's impacted us in a plethora of ways, but um, one of the things that immediately began concerning me when we sort of went into a version of lockdown, because I don't think St. Vincent never really went into lockdown per se. We've had a semblance of it, but I immediately began to worry about like my students, the ones who may not have come from the best home, where something like school is their escape. So I think that in terms of domestic violence, that has increased. I'm sure sexual assault has gone up with that too, but on
Mm,
a more domestic scale. Many people lost their jobs. Many people are struggling financially now because of lockdown and having to be at home, because not every job can take place online, as we know. The tourism industry suffered really greatly. So people who are custom working in tourism and stuff like that, they're really suffering. And I mean, it's all around sad because we're all feeling the squeeze. We are all under pressure. But then I think that there's also this notion that, well, we do have to continue life. So I am going to pressure you to function as normal, even though I know that this situation is completely irrational. Because I mean, they still expect the most from you. You're supposed to have this in on time. Like sometimes people are literally struggling to find the will to get up and put on clothes, much less to say show up to whatever job they have, or in the case of like people working in mental health, where they have their job or their purpose is to be caring for others when you yourself need caring for. So like I think COVID has really had us in a chokehold. It has impacted us in the worst of ways. I mean, there have been, I guess you could say, some good things too, but a lot of the times you have to look for them. They're not very obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Especially when it comes to that financial impact, because I've seen some comments online from some people that it's like, they don't really know how those families operate, because you could have someone working in the tourism industry, and then the other spouse is working in, I don't know, a non-essential job, right? If they both lose their job due to the lockdown or to COVID, whether it's that they actually got released or can't work due to the lockdown, they literally have no income, especially if they live from a paycheck to paycheck basis. They literally have no income. It's a good thing that the banks were doing stuff like they were canceling or postponing the payments for loans and that kind of stuff. So that was good on the bank's part. And also the government was assisting in care packages and checks and whatnot. So that's good. But at the same time, it's not enough to sustain those households, because you have households in Barbados. You have people with households with like 7 people plus. So yeah, so it's like, with all that considered, that household is going through tremendous stress, and don't even talk about the if it's not too healthy, like you have like some toxic family members in there, that is adding significantly to that stress that those persons are feeling, especially the persons who are the providers, right? So when you have that kind of thing going on, that is a cause of concern. So there's a lot of anxiety. There's usually a lot of cases of depression, sometimes suicidal thoughts. Not sure if you guys realize, but the suicide rate, I think, literally went up a significant percentage since COVID started, and more when there were lockdowns, because you had a lot of people in these positions unable to provide, unable to pay off the debts, under tremendous stress at work, even if they still had a job, and a lot of people got released. As Janielle said, they're expected to perform the role of 10 people, right? So you have all that weight on their shoulders, trying to provide for everybody at home, getting on your nerves and saying, it becomes very draining. So a lot of people have suffered that and went through that. But on the other side, there are people who, it's some jobs where they can work remotely from home, very nice. Or they can go to the market when they want, that kind of stuff. Some people going to the market just to get all the house, which I feel is quite ridiculous, right? So there are literally two sides to it. And that's when we have to realize, like, yes, the government is doing that stuff and it might, but we as individuals who can support each other, because we're still a nation that we're supposed to be supporting each other. We can't just say, well, let the government take care of it. If we know someone is in need, I believe we should be willing to help that person with whatever they need access to.
Yeah, for
No
sure.
one is saying you need to give them
Definitely.
money every week or every couple of days. If you can, do it, right? But whatever you can do to help that person, you should do it because you don't know what that person is going through. Yeah. Just before we move on, we have a question here from Buzzman. Said to Trey, would you say that some of us are not experiencing what the world of a germaphobe feels like?
Hmm. Um, I would say it's very, very slightly. There would be like an increased anxiety in terms of navigating the social spaces, but to the extent of a germaphobe, no. Because when they're talking about germaphobe, the key part is that last part, phobe, which comes from phobia. But phobia is an irrational fear, a debilitating fear, a fear that legitimately stops you from functioning. So you can't move, you can't get out of bed, you afraid to even step a couple of inches here, that kind of thing. Like you were literally able to time. The thing about phobia too, it also comes with symptoms like you might get some panic attacks, you might get a rapid heartbeat, sweating, shortness of breath, that kind of thing. So again, very slightly in terms of the anxious component of it, but no, I could not imagine what being a germaphobe would be like, or any phobia, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
but
I mean,
to
like, yeah, it's like literally every time when you home, even when my mom and dad is like, just make sure you got your alcohol and mask. And it's like, yeah, I got it every time. Yeah, so
yeah,
you really have to be cautious. Like when I go
yeah,
into the supermarket and whatnot, sometimes I order groceries online. But whenever going to supermarket or anywhere, like I make sure I don't touch anything. Some of the door handles, like you will pull to go inside places, I will use the bottom of the handle to pull it. But I'm figuring like more people probably had the same idea as me, so they're probably just touching it. It probably make a difference, right?
it is
But
done that.
yeah, so you just try and doing whatever is necessary to be as clean as you
Yeah.
can be, right? So yeah, but yeah, I would have expanded there on the financial impact. Basically, like a lot of people in debt, a lot of people lost jobs,
Mhm.
trying to manage your money. So it's really taking a toll on persons, even though because it's still going on. We might be
Yeah.
having recoveries and vaccines here and all that good news, but people are still being impacted, right? You guys in comments can let us know how you have been impacted by COVID-19 for the last year. Let us know. Don't be afraid to share. Yeah. Yeah, but there is also the mental impact, the psychological impact of COVID-19. And I'm just going to ask Trey to expand on this as our Rhodes Scholar here in the flesh. The Rhodes Scholar, but
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to deal with that with the rest of my life to be fair. So let me just get used to it now. But thank you, Grant. And it's good that you touched on the financial aspect of it because we can't ignore the fact that finances impact your mental health. A lot of people have lost their income, and in losing your income, then you're losing the means to provide. And then you have to start to worry about things like, okay, where's my next meal going to come from? How are we going to afford to eat this week, next week? And then if you're thinking long term, and then you also look at the job market and you realize that things aren't exactly abundant right now. So then that would aggravate any anxiety, any fear, any depression about the situation you might be experiencing. Um, Another thing we have to look to is for those persons who are still employed, especially persons who teach, like students actually. It is very right. It is very, very exhausting and very demoralizing. The thing about school is like we would say we hate school, but if you really sit down and think about it, we don't hate every aspect of school because school we still get to see our friends, we still get to engage
Yeah.
in certain recreational activities. But in a COVID world, school is literally just the academic aspect of it. You're literally just sitting down in front of the screen, going from class to class for entire days. And then if you add in study time on top of that, being in front of the screen all day, like for days on end, basically every day of the week, especially if you're a teacher and you have to be planning, that is bad for you both physically and especially mentally. It is tiring. It is exhausting. And then we go back to what we were saying earlier, the feeling like this situation is never going to end. There's a legitimate fear that this might be our quote unquote new normal, that this is what life might look like for the rest of our lives. I really hope not, but let's hope and pray. So because of that, I think it was the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, they were saying that anxiety and depression rates have skyrocketed since the onset of COVID-19. Suicide rates have definitely increased. And suicide was already one of the leading causes of death worldwide. So you can only imagine what that looks like in a COVID-19 world. And if you have pre-existing mental health conditions, then these circumstances are going to play on that, because people love to say, oh, it's just a mind thing, or it's just you need to be positive. No, mental health is directly related to your environment, your circumstances. So if the world feels like doom and gloom, that will have an impact on your mental health, especially if you have a pre-existing condition. So overall, it almost feels like COVID-19 was built to be the enemy of good mental health, to be quite honest.
Interesting. Yeah. We have a question here from Khadija Pierre. Good night, Khadija. To Janielle, do you conduct any particular exercises to help your students cope or to help them protect their mental health? Also, what do you do to keep your sanity?
You're assuming that I'm still sane, first of all. But seriously, in terms of my students, I try to make my classroom environment a very comfortable and friendly one where they can debrief whenever they need to. I check in with them regularly and I make myself available for them to check in with me. So if they have an issue, um, especially if as well it's something that is personal that will impact their ability to perform, I encourage them to still reach out and say something, because I think one of the downsides, as Trey mentioned about this online forum, is the lack of social interaction. And because of that, we have also become inhumane ourselves. So we start viewing people in this robotic way. So these children must perform, they must hand in this assignment at this time. We're not even thinking about the households that they come from. We're not even thinking about the fact that maybe this child has to be the one who is taking care of their siblings while their parent goes to work and all of that. So I try to always make them aware of the fact that I am here. I understand that it's difficult, but I'm willing to work with you. I have found that using like graphic organizers or things that are appealing to them, like whether visually or in terms of audio, whatever I can find that I think that they might find interesting, then I try to use those things to keep their attention while helping them to feel emotionally safe, because I don't want their home to be unsafe and then coming into my classroom to also be unsafe. So there's that. As for me, what I do to cope, sometimes you be teaching and these children be saying foolishness, and you're like, you would swear that I did not teach this. So, if you need to just, I was telling somebody the other day that this one time in class, I had to just cut my camera for a second so I could be like, and then I put it back on and I was like, no, that's not the answer. So, but I mean, when you think about it, it really helps to improve your level of self-control and your patience. Patience is of utmost importance. But what I do after my classes, I have a cutoff point um, for which you can message me about academic stuff. Unless it's an emergency, do not message me after this particular time. And that was important because the first time we went into this kind of lockdown situation, I had a child calling me at minutes to 8 on Sunday night. I was like, excuse me, what? This don't even resemble a school day. What are you doing?
What
So
age range do you teach, sir?
I teach forms 3 and 4. So that's
Um,
like 13 to I want to say 16, thereabout.
mm,
No.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean I just go and watch a show, and sometimes you have to go and cry 10 minutes before the class. And then when they say, Miss, why your eyes so puffy? You're just like, ha ha ha. So today's you do what you need to. Yeah, just do what you need to. And eat well. Eating helps.
Yeah. Sure.
yeah. I have a comment here from Sarah Durkin. Sarah would say it is definitely harder to focus and even just to think in this COVID world.
Yeah.
It's true. I myself I had time focusing on a couple projects that I had. Again, just because just being home for a very long period of time, nothing really happening, so it's part of the reason why I was glad to get my license too. So I'm gonna just leave home, right? Just clear my head. But it's always good to find those coping mechanisms, especially through this time where it's extremely more pressing on your mental health. So you always want to make sure that you have something there that you can go to or run to. And later that, we're actually going to just move into, how we could actually make it through this difficult season. As you said, it's still progressing. Yes, we have vaccines and different, stuff going on, good news, but we're actually literally still in this situation. And we can't predict the future. Things might be going good now, but it's still high possibilities that things can go. You could just have these 2 weeks of phase reopening and then right back into lockdown. Who knows?
Even though, Lord, even though, take it away.
But yeah, so there's a couple ways you can actually look to make it through this situation. Reach out, like don't be afraid to reach out to your family and friends. I mean, we have technology here. It's not going to be the same with having that face-to-face experience with persons. But just call somebody. Just on the topic of calling somebody, I've seen a lot of comments recently on Twitter and whatnot about it's good etiquette to message first before you call. I don't know if that applies to family members as well, but
it should.
It should. Oh, jeez. So you're saying before you call anybody for anything, you should send a message. What if that person doesn't respond?
No, I'm talking about my sisters. My sisters just start ringing my phone, and they'll be like, "How dare you not answer us?" So yeah, sisters over everything. So I'm supposed to pick up every time. They need to message first.
Okay, before we move on, I have a question from Stan Gittins. I hope I'm not saying your name correctly. Good evening, Lewwe chat team. Good evening to you. What would you say from your experience are the 3 best actions parents who are tired themselves can help their kids to understand that they're drained?
I'm not sure if I can answer this question. I have not sown any seeds to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I was about to say this.
What did Trey say? I didn't hear him.
Oh boy.
Are you being serious or
No, I'm being so serious. I didn't hear you.
Oh no, I was just saying that I don't know if I could answer this question because I haven't yet sown any seeds in that regard. So You know,
Oh God,
what
I
would
wish
you?
I didn't ask. Thank you.
Right, three best actions parents who are tired themselves can help their kids to understand that they're a journey. I think though any good starting point is conversation, and not just conversation for the sake of having a conversation, but open-minded conversation. You have a chat with the child. You yourself as a parent, I believe that you can be vulnerable. Because I find and I understand that it is to protect their children, but I find that sometimes parents put up this facade of invulnerability or of being a superhuman. They don't want their children to see them struggling, which I understand you want to protect your child from that, but I think it helps your child set realistic expectations even for themselves to know that, you know what, I am your parent. I am not perfect. I am human and I will struggle and I am struggling. And even from there, that could create understanding. The child themselves may feel more encouraged to say, well, hey, thank you for sharing this with me. I myself have been struggling too. Sometimes you literally just need a conversation to get things going.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually was going to say that. Just have an open, calm, emphasis on calm conversation with your kids. Don't come across too rough because sometimes, when you're drained and tired, you could be a bit irritated when kids ask you questions or, when you're trying to let them know how you feel whilst being tired. So just having a calm conversation with them, explaining to them like what Trey said, would
Hmm.
be one of the first actions you would want to take.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the age of the child, the way that you would approach it,
True, true,
because
true.
I can tell you these toddlers do not care. They're like, "Oh, you're tired? Well, I want to play, so figure that out." But
Yeah. Uh-huh.
like for
Mhm.
my students, whenever they start getting frustrated, especially with us as teachers, I try to explain to them and relate to their experience by saying, well, the same way that sometimes you get frustrated because you're having the same internet issues, you you might have tasks that your parents want you to complete and it's
Mhm.
interfering with your schoolwork. The same thing happens to us. Sometimes we
Mhm.
have obligations outside of school, so we can't get to your message right away. Sometimes we are just straight up tired, so we
Mhm.
can't, help in the way that we want to. So the same patience you want us to have with you, please extend it to us. And that usually works because they're like, okay, fair enough, because we hate it here, so y'all probably hate it here too. So,
Yeah.
but as for toddlers, I don't know. I don't know. I
Uh, yeah.
buy
Um,
a bouncy castle and just let them exhaust themselves because I don't know. They
another
don't
another
care.
Another action, right, could be, for example, too, especially for toddlers, because we know they're full of energy. Um,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
you and you find it hard to talk as well as a parent. You can't relate to toddlers, so maybe
Mhm.
you could find someone you trust, and just without explaining to your child, take that child to whoever could help you, you know, while you're being drained and tired. You could have somebody help you out. So find
Mhm.
somebody you trust who could help you
Mm,
out.
Mhm. Yeah.
yes, I agree with all of you. And I would just say that it depends on, as everyone said, the age. And I would also add the relationship that you have with your children. Because based on that
Uh,
relationship, they would actually listen to you and take what you say seriously, that conversation. Right? So that relationship that you have with your child is actually extremely important so that that conversation could be actually effective. Yeah.
mhm.
I have a comment here from Lean. She's saying, I think this is a good opportunity for parents to teach children about honestly expressing their emotions.
Right.
So be honest with them and ask them to share and share with them. It's true.
Mhm.
It is
Lead by
true.
example.
Yeah. Maya, good night, Maya. Thank you for joining. Maya saying, if you live with a lot of people, four or more, schedule uninterrupted time for yourself. Listen,
No. Honestly, right? Like, if anybody could please tell me how to do that, like, please, just please.
Yeah, so
Right?
Maya, if you have any tips for Trey, please let him know. Yeah.
I
Lock
mean,
Please.
your door. Lock your
locking your door
door.
don't even work
And
sometimes.
well, Jodine, here's what I do. I lock my door, and if I'm leaving my room, I always have in my AirPods. So they try to talk to me, but I can't hear you, boo. They eventually get tired. They just
Uh,
like I because I'm like, what? And by the third time I do that, they're just like, never mind. So
I'm just
Just, just,
gonna,
I
just find, yeah, you just find the guys on carabliss.com just looking just like part of this. But yeah, you need to find out on the interactive time for yourself. Rolene is saying you can also schedule breaks for the entire family. This can look like games night, pizza night, gardening, a picnic, or anything that the family can enjoy together. It's true. Got to
a
do stuff
picnic
with
in
the
your
family.
living room though.
But yeah,
'Cause
or between you actually you can't even do picnics between party six. But yeah, picnic in the living room. Yeah.
on your porch or something. The
Sorry to
moonlight is
hear you
out
today.
in the porch or something. Moonlight is out, so have a nice night with some wine
how far
or
we
orange juice
fallen.
for the children.
Orange juice feature. Not even Shamdar. Oh
I don't know
jeez.
what's that.
Sam.
Oh boy. Greg then is saying to buy locks. Oh
Like,
jeez.
security locks are like, never mind.
That's
Just
what I thought. I was like dreadlocks or
Well,
Hmm.
I don't know what that would help. Jensen is saying you won't have any time if you don't make time. So try staying up late on a particular day like a Friday.
be careful with that. Because you don't want to like mess up. No, you don't want to mess up your sleeping pattern, like legit,
That's
because
true.
like you
That is
need to
true.
get your sleep. So like, if you could balance
sleeping
it out,
pattern.
though, like, well, like if you're like me, like my body has this annoying clock. Like no matter what time, I could go to sleep 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna be up at like 5:30. So if you're like me, don't
Same.
risk that. But if you're like somebody that your body would balance it out, so you go to sleep like 1 o'clock and then you get up like 9, 10 o'clock, then yeah, that's an option. But you gotta know your body before you do something like that.
True. Yeah, and I would add just another way you can actually look to get through the situation is by taking a social media break. No, I would always brag about this. I actually took one
Are you right,
literally.
Jodine?
I took one for a month, and that month was December. I think I turned off my phone, and I was only accessible through my work phone, which a lot of people didn't have the number to.
I thought you were
Um,
going to say smoke signal, but okay. Well, phone is fine.
no, please. But yeah, like, and I just felt so rejuvenated through that entire process, right? Is something I would definitely advise, even if it's for a couple hours, for a couple of days, for a month, years if you want, do you need to do
Yes. Yeah.
to keep
Well,
I agree with that social media break. I mean, I would love to take a break myself because last year especially, we didn't have a bad in St. Vincent, right? But I wanted to take a break from social media because it was negatively impacting me in terms of like
mhm.
you're in a stagnant place and you're seeing people still, you know, winning, getting married, getting
oh,
engaged, all this sort of thing.
Mhm.
And you
Listen.
just hear like, okay, when is my turn? And then funny thing is, when I was going through that phase, I put up on a YouTube channel and this young lady, she was like, she actually took a break from social media because she was going through that same thing where she would go on social media and she's seen everybody getting babies during the pandemic still and everybody getting some nice fancy thing and we just out here just looking. So that
Mhm.
kind of had
Mhm.
dampened my spirits a bit. So I would say definitely try and take a break from social media.
Yeah.
when you feel
I
like that?
think I've had a completely different experience, to be honest, because
Mhm.
sometimes social media is what saves me. I thought that when you were talking about like seeing the negative um comments on social media, I thought you were talking about the ignorance, because the ignorance is astounding, honey.
Oh
Like
yes,
I-
that is true.
because of that, I
Yeah.
started unfollowing news pages, because I was like, literally the most senseless people are the ones that always comment. So I just stopped looking at those. But then
So, yeah.
many times social media allowed me to see encouraging things. Sometimes the
Mhm.
foolishness was funny and it would
Mhm.
lift my spirits. And I don't know, a baby would never be a nice fancy thing to me. When I see people having babies in a pandemic, I'm like, okay. Okay. You would know. But
Okay.
so
Okay.
I believe that your experience is completely valid, because it's something that I've heard a lot of people talk about. But then I don't know. For me, sometimes social media is my escape. But I finally started back reading books because of
Mhm.
the whole lockdown situation. I think I finished 5 books since the year started. So I'm like, yes, finally back on that train. Yeah. So
Nice.
that's my escape too. If you want to come off of social media, you can try something like reading or art or something.
I just try reading, right? But I just be dribbling in the next hour.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
On
So
your book.
yeah. So more of it is like as Janielle was saying, don't overbear yourself with the media.
Mhm.
Or the outlets. Be more active. Exercise more frequently. Attempt. Having a healthier eating lifestyle and lifestyle on the whole. You just want to focus and actually be consistent with being healthy because it's very important. To every aspect of your being. And also, you want to take the break from the media and whatnot, but you still want to stay updated with what all is happening in the country around you. So you would know what's going on, and also use whatever time you have to be productive to learn new skills. You don't always have to. I know there's something Trey talks about a lot. You don't always have to be productive. Take some time and
Yeah.
rest. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is just as important. Right? You can
Mhm.
only be productive if you are rested, and
Right.
rejuvenated, right? Yeah, you can only get the best out of yourself. So it's very important. So yeah, and any recreational activities you could indulge yourself in, your family. If it's I'm pretty sure you have interactive games, multiplayer games on your phone. You could probably play games on your phone. I know there's something called House Party.
Mhm.
I think. Yeah, some House Party. You can play games on your phone together. You can play board games together. You can do a lot of stuff together. Yeah. So there's a lot you can do with each other and by yourself, thanks to technology and also to your own creativity. You know. So yeah. Just gonna highlight a few more comments before we go into the poll. Uh, yeah, Tristan is saying the way I'm making it through the pandemic is by doing video calls with friends and joining Zoom workout sessions. I have a list of people I haven't heard and check off my list when I call on it. That's nice, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah. Love that.
Yes, she's saying besides I currently live, I look forward to the memes and snicker visions for the win. Visions for the win.
Yeah, visions for it is visions for the different. That's all I can say. Which
Yeah. Yeah, hey, Ramel. Good night, Ramel. I've started a new hobby, learning to play the piano. Nice. I also go to the beach on evenings for exercise. Piano for the peace inside. The beach is for the peace outside.
wait,
Nice.
Go
what it.
Romel.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
Nice. Pauline is saying maybe try audiobooks and podcasts. I discovered some fantastic podcasts during the lockdown. Okay. Nice.
I'll try the podcast.
Oh, you dribbling your podcast too?
No, no, no. I said I would try.
Oh,
Yo, that was cold.
I'm very
That was
sorry.
so
Are you
cold.
serious?
That was
She lies after that.
Oh boy.
Good.
Sorry, me a little one more comment. So what's man is saying gardening is fantastic. For starting, it's very relaxing and the cut backs on the grocery store. True. Got all that lettuce, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, everything in my yard. Don't need to go to the vegetable woman. It's true.
They're good at it though.
Yeah. So we're actually going to get into the polls now. So our first question was, what negatively impacted you throughout the last year? So have some comments, some responses. A person said not a thing, but I couldn't travel to go on vacation, but I don't mingle outside of my bubble. It's fine. I think a lot of us actually miss traveling for sure. Someone else is saying having to constantly change plans because of all the restriction imposed by the pandemic. It's true. And someone else is saying I was struggling financially. And I believe that went for a lot of people. A lot of people were impacted significantly by financial losses. Yeah. And just a continuation, not being able to travel to see my family. Well, that's tough. Your family, if you're here, family live overseas, that's actually rough. Friends, the truth of some bonds I thought were genuine hurt more than COVID itself. I always say it's good to know who your real ones are and just let the rest jet off.
So, does anyone on this panel have anything that they want to tell me now?
Trey, I can't believe
No,
you.
Someone else said online school, depression, stress, boredom, etc. So I definitely hope you get through that depression. Could always give us a show on Instagram and we could guide you to who to contact. COVID basically put a stop to tourism, and that was my job. Again, the financial impact was significant. Yeah, and a lot of people in Barbados were in the tourism industry. Right. So our next question was, what are you looking forward to post COVID? And you guys in the comments can let us know what are you looking forward to. But I know a lot of us want to do a lot of things, right? Our first response was getting out of this country. I don't know what country this person is in.
Right?
I mean, Barbados.
Are you in hell?
I love Barbados too much. Sorry, I would actually just stay here for the rest of my life. Love Barbados too much. Yeah. Someone else said traveling, new opportunities, and taking off my to-do list. Proper vacation, being free, and being able to move about. Trust that is me. Eating loads of fast food, going to the beach, and vibing with friends. Now you see the first part of this. Listen.
Well, I hate thinking you
eating
and
loads
came
of
up
fast
with
food.
that one.
Let me tell you, Monday was the day.
A special mention to Sir Asa Halu, who continues to hold on Barbados.
Oh boy.
When are y'all going to get official ambassadorship? I think.
I've been trying. Halu, it's a very toxic relationship I have with such a
I noticed.
And they don't acknowledge me. They don't.
It's true.
Yeah.
Going to concerts, definitely. Yeah. Speaking of concerts, how many of y'all went to Lewwe worship last year? Thankfully, I was actually able to pull it off last year because we had the whole COVID situation, but things eased up. And thanks to everyone for coming out. We have the videos. We're actually going to post the videos in a matter of days, so you can see what happened at Lewwe worship if you're not there. So thank you. That was a quick plug. Yeah. Yes, Jameson was there. Thanks, bro. Yeah. So you have a meeting with people outside and being able to embrace them with open arms. It's true. As Mario said, he can't wait to hug post-COVID. He made sure he said post-COVID, right? Because you don't want the COVID unit on here, Just that's the end of Mario. The worship was nice. Thanks, Romel. Thanks for coming through. Yeah. Right. And our last question was, would you say you have developed in any area through the past year? Yeah, so we had a lot of responses to the polls. Obviously, we can't post all, It's an hour now. Yeah. So first person said my communication skills, being away from people and not being able to see them face to face. You have to communicate effectively to get your point across for all people to understand you. Sure. I developed holistically. I learned to
Yes.
invest. Now, this is important. Learn to invest is extremely important. I think a lot of people, especially young people, don't take it seriously enough. It's
I
actually, you need to
I
know to
believe so.
invest in. Was
Someone.
worthy of investment. Yeah. So yeah, being more antisocial, spent more time soul searching, got very good grades, and I did a lot of reading. That's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. I think maybe my patience has grown way more. It's good. It's always good to increase um, patience. That's something that we all need. So thank you everyone who has responded to those polls, and you guys in the comments can let us know what you're looking forward to most post COVID, what negatively impacted you through last year, what would you say you've developed in through last year. Yeah. So we're coming to the end of our discussion. Our first time back, it's been great, I must say. But before we go, we're actually just gonna leave you with some tips. You have our tips. Our tips is always there. We're actually going to put them on our Instagram page. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at Lewwe Create. Just make sure you follow us there. You get all the updates on everything, right? Yeah. Janielle, I'm sorry, but we're not out as yet. We're not finished yet. I think she might go this But yeah. Our tip. So Jadine, do you want to start us off with our tips as we look to close?
Yes, sure. So my tip definitely would be to make an extra effort to take care of yourself. And by this, personally, um, during this pandemic, I started drinking a lot more water, and I realized that my skin started doing so much better.
Mm.
Like, I have no pimples, and I always struggle with acne, and now my skin is smooth and nice. All my
Yes.
legs and my thighs are smooth and nice. So I enjoyed that. And also, I've been exercising, and I find while exercising, I actually feel really good. Like my mind is free because I think I'm focusing on struggling to breathe. But besides that, it makes me feel really good. It makes me feel alive when I'm finished. Like I'm energetic. So taking care of yourself would actually make you feel good about yourself, knowing that okay, you're now looking, feeling much better. You also would your confidence would build.
Mhm.
So yes, that's me.
That's good. What about you, Trey?
Sorry, I'm actually just kind of concerned with Janelle right now.
Oh, yeah.
But
I don't know where Janelle went. I don't know where Janelle went. I don't know.
let's hope she's okay. But for my tip, and I guess this is a tip I need to say for myself as well, but be gentle with yourself. Um, give yourself grace, give yourself understanding, and give yourself compassion. Um, don't expect your best to look like. What was I saying? Right. But seriously, don't expect your best to look like what it would have looked like pre-COVID. Sometimes your best might literally look like just existing for a day, or even for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and you know that is fine. I saw a quote the other day, something along the lines of, like the water is no less significant when it is still. The water is still there. The water is still important and significant. So it's like you yourself, even if you don't feel like you're being productive, like you still matter. So give yourself that grace and that kindness, like you would a close friend.
Hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
Janelle, is everything okay?
I am in the literal ghetto. Like I just got thrown out. And I'm like, what is the second class citizen treatment?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. So we were just going through the tips. So uh we're at you now. So if you have any tips for us before we close?
Okay, well, I have two. So my first one is going to be in terms of socializing. Make sure that your socializing is meaningful. Um, right now, my DMs are packed with "Hi." When I respond, "Hey, what's up?" And that's as far as the conversation goes every single day. So I stopped responding because it is draining. So I'm making
Yeah.
sure that my conversation is meaningful. I'm speaking to people that feed my soul and not my anger. And I think that has helped me a lot. So make sure you talk to the people that are close to you, like your friends, your family, checking on them regularly. Do not just assume that they are okay.
Yeah.
Do
Sorry,
not
sorry.
assume. Trey's terrible. Let me just get that out there. Do not assume that they are.
Sure, what happened, bro? Boy.
Do not assume that they are okay. You know, you have to be meaningful and intentional with the way that you spend your time. And my second one is practice mindfulness. Don't just be meaningful with your interactions with other people, but also your interactions with yourself. Monitor how you speak to yourself. Do you only have negative dialogue with yourself? Are you, rehearsing positive affirmations? And that actually works. You say something to yourself long enough, you begin to believe it. If it works with negative statements, there's no reason why it shouldn't work with the positive ones, right? And make sure that you sit with yourself, feel what you need to feel. If you're feeling very discouraged, don't just be like, well, I'm a Christian, so I gotta be happy. I find a lot of people do that and then they end up
Mm,
damaging other people in the process. So
mm.
sit with what you need to feel and walk through it instead of ignoring it and trying to get over it. Walk through it. So yeah, that's my tip.
Thank you. Yeah, and for me, I would just say like to take the time to get to know yourself better and to better yourself because you always want to grow. Yeah, whether it's that you just being you don't have to move too fast with it. You don't have to get everything done the same day, same week, same month. Just pace yourself, learn to refocus, and to make this meaningful and more fulfilling decisions going forward in life. And just look for every reason to make a positive impact in life because every decision that you make is going to have a long term impact, right? No matter how small that decision is. So just
Yeah.
kind of refocus on whatever you want to do, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationships with your friends, your family, and just yeah. And I would also just like to say to we all know we're going through this together, right? We're a community. Not everyone is your family, but
Mm.
treat them as such. If you see someone that needs help, then help them because it's not just the like last year or 2 years. I should say 2 years ago, when majority of people had jobs. Like now is extremely worse. And people that have been holding
Yeah.
on can't hold on any longer, literally. So if you can give a helping hand, I urge you to give that helping hand wherever necessary. Don't think too hard about it. If you want to give $5, give $5. Don't know that Sprite can help that person very much, right? So just
Yeah.
do as much as you can to help others and just be compassionate and gentle and patient towards others during this trying time because we're all being affected by it in some way or the other. Don't think because somebody got a job and you got none that they ain't struggling because they might not be struggling
Yeah.
financially means they could be struggling mentally because you don't know that person going through. So don't try to compare situations. It's not healthy at all. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's my tip. Um, yeah. Tristan is saying maybe come to value that each day is a blessing and that each moment in life has meaning. True.
Very
That's
well
true.
said. Very well
Yeah.
said.
So yeah, I just want to thank everyone who has joined tonight for joining. It's been such an enjoyable session, so informative. I'm really glad to be back. Don't mind I wasn't able to get a clean cut for you guys, but hopefully it can't even be next week, boy. Hopefully we have to, Trey and I come back looking fresh and presentable.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
thank you guys really and truly for joining. It was good, very good to see a lot of familiar faces back in our chat. Remember to share the videos, to share our pages, to like and subscribe, and encourage others to do the same. Let us continue to grow. Yeah. So thank you everyone, and we will see you next week. Oh yeah, by the way, next week we're actually going to be tackling how you can rebuild your finances. So we're going to talk about budgeting. We have a special guest speaker coming. I'm talking about budgeting, financial planning, all that good stuff. So if you really want to, learn all that stuff and get your finances in order, then remember next week, March 11th, right back here on our YouTube channel. Yeah. So we will see you guys next week. Be safe, stay safe, and we love you.
Oh, we do.